Welcome to what is going to be tonight, the live, the NCAA Men's Basketball Selection Show. I'm going to go ahead and point out right now, I don't know that I'm going to be able to actually show the live things. I don't know. We're going to see how this works. May just have to give them to you as they are said, but we will see. I'm going to try to do what I can when the actual selections come out, but I'll have to play it by ear because there's all these copyright restrictions and all that. So I'm going to have to wait and see how that's going to work. But we are just about to reveal the selections for the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament. The 68-team field is going to be revealed. We've got the 31 automatic qualifiers, 37 at-large selections to fill out the 68-team field, and the tournament will get underway on Tuesday with the first four in Dayton. So we will see exactly where each team is, what their seed is, and where they are headed in the NCAA basketball tournament. We pretty much know, I think, have a good idea on the four number one seeds. I think that fourth number one seed's kind of up in the air, but we're pretty confident on three of them. But we will see exactly how this pans out and shapes out here on the selection show on the NCAA tournament. So again, we've got the 31 automatic qualifiers. The final automatic qualifier qualified about 20 minutes ago as Purdue won the Big Ten tournament. They defeated Michigan. So Purdue as the 7th seed, they became the first 7th seed to win the Big Ten tournament. So Purdue gets the automatic bid out of the Big Ten. More than likely, that's probably not going to cost Michigan a number one seed, I wouldn't think. But we will have to wait and see how the selection committee views it. As we are just about set to get the NCAA tournament bracket revealed here. And again, for those of you that just tuned in, I'm going to attempt to try to get this on, but no guarantees. I don't think I'm going to be successful on this. So I may just have to give you the teams as they are announced. I was hoping to be able to get this live feed on, but it does not appear that that's going to happen. All right, so anyway, I'm going to have to just do it team by team here. I'll try to keep the bottom scroll going so that way I can put the teams on. Okay, and and they're already coming in. Number one overall seed is Duke. That's not a big surprise. I think we all knew that was coming. So Duke, and they will be put in the East region. Duke is going to face the Saints of Siena. I thought they might get a play-in team, but they do not. So East region number one is Duke. Ohio State does get in as the 8th seed and rather handily. So it doesn't look like they were on the bubble at all. So they get a number 8 seed in the East region. Their opponent will be the Horned Frogs of TCU. I think everybody thought they were probably in safely, and it looks like they were as the number 9 seed. Big East Tournament champion St. John's is the 5. I thought they might go up a little bit with their convincing win over UConn, but not the case. They end up a number 5. They're in that old 12-5 matchup. St. John's is going to take on, and they get sent clear out to San Diego. That's the Northern Iowa Panthers, the Missouri Valley champions. So 2 conference champions squaring off, St. John's and Northern Iowa. I'm still trying to figure out how to get this on here, guys, so bear with me. Kansas Jayhawks, a number 4 seed. That's way too high. They're getting sent clear out to San Diego, taking on Cal Baptist. Well, so the first, I'll put down the East region here after, on the scroll here after they announce it fully. Louisville, the 6th seed in the East. They're taking on the Bulls of South Florida, who just wrapped up the American Conference title. They're a pretty high seed for the American champs, an 11 seed. Michigan State draws the 3 seed in the East region. They will take on, they're sent to Buffalo. They're taking on the Bison of North Dakota State, champions of the Summit League. UCLA, the 7th seed, they're getting sent clear across the country to Philadelphia. So that's taking on the Knights of UCF. Tell you what, this is not working the way I wanted it to, so I'm going to try something. Here at the commercial, I'm going to do something here. Wrapping up the East region with the 2 seed UConn Huskies. Not having to go very far as they just get sent to Philadelphia. They're going to take on 15 seed, which will be announced momentarily. I think Furman, the Paladins out of the Southern Conference, get the 15 seed. So so that is the East region. But again, folks, I'm going to do something here. This did not work out the way I was hoping that they were going to show the bracket on another app here so I can. All right. Well, anyway. All right. So the number 1 seed in the East is Duke, and UConn draws the 2 seed. Michigan State, the 3 in the East region. So I don't see a real big challenge there for Duke in the East region, to be perfectly honest with you. Let me try and pull something up here. This, I think, will work. That's not what I wanted to do. Now they're going to commercial. I was going to pull it up on another app, but they're going to commercial here. So this is not going to work out like I wanted it to. And I am not confident enough to try and put the feed on with all the copyright restrictions and everything. Okay, here we're starting to get it, so I'm going to do this. Okay, so here we go. Let's do it this way. East region, for Duke, the top seed and the overall #1 seed in this region, take on the Saints of Siena, the Metro Atlantic champions, in their first game. Ohio State, TCU, the 8-9 game there in the East region. As mentioned, 2 conference champions, St. John's and Northern Iowa, in the 5-12 matchup in the East region. Can Northern Iowa keep up with St. John's? They're a big team. They're a scrappy team. They're a physical team. Will Northern Iowa be able to keep up with that? Number 4 seed Kansas and Cal Baptist. Cal Baptist, the champions of the WAC. I still think that's a little bit too high of a seed for Kansas, but we will see. Louisville and South Florida. That's a very intriguing matchup in the 6-11 game. Michigan State taking on the Bison of North Dakota State from the Summit League in their opener. UCLA and UCF, the 7-10 matchup. And then the 2 seed UConn, they take on the Paladins of Furman. So you've got Duke, UConn, Michigan State, and Kansas, as the top 4 seeds. Duke, UConn, Michigan State, and Kansas. Like I said before, I don't see a problem for Duke coming out of there. I don't see any of those other teams really being a strong competitor to Duke in the East region. My one concern with Duke is they rely on Boozer a little bit too much, I think. I think they can maybe, if Boozer has a bad game, who will be able to step up big for Duke? And I just don't see anybody that can really step up and take over on a constant basis if Boozer would have a bad game or two. But we'll find out. The matchups, if anybody's on there, what matchup do you think could be what's the best matchup there in the first round in the East region? Do you think there? Okay, they're revealing the West region. Ooh, that 8-9 matchup in the West region. I'll show you the West region after they're done here and after it gets filled out here. That is a doozy of an 8-9 matchup in the West region. We'll get to that here. Ooh. Like I say, we'll show the West region. If I'm Wisconsin, I'm not happy with who I just saw as my opponent. So they are revealing the West region now, which should be getting filled in here momentarily. I will go ahead and tell you the number 1 seed in the West region, to no one's big surprise either, the Arizona Wildcats. Arizona winning the Big 12 as they get the number 1 seed in the West. How many teams in the Big 12 already? Okay, we have our first format. What? I am a little surprised at both these teams they have put in the first 4 in the West region. As they're still revealing the West region, we'll go ahead and tell you with that. Talk about more in the East region there. UCLA and UCF. Usually your 7-10 matchups are pretty good matchups. I don't see UCLA having much of a problem in that matchup in the East region in that 10-7 game. Now, the 7-10 matchup on the West region that they just revealed, that's a different story, but and just like, okay, they're getting ready to fill out the West region side here. I have to make sure I didn't miss it here. Okay. Okay, here we go. Top seed in the West, the Arizona Wildcats, and they will take on the NEC champion Long Island in their first matchup. This is the intriguing 8-9 matchup that I was talking about in the West. Villanova and Utah State. That is going to be a doozy between the Wildcats and the Aggies. Aggies winning the Mountain West tournament. Villanova, an 8 seed out of the Big East. And that is going to be some kind of fun game, I think. 5-12 matchup, the Wisconsin. This is what I was saying. Wisconsin, I am not liking the matchup I'm getting if I'm Wisconsin. They are not doing the Badgers any favors in this 12-5 game. They get High Point, a 30-game winner, and the Big South champions. That is about as tough of a 12-5 matchup as you can ask for if you're Wisconsin. The Badgers probably not real pleased right now drawing High Point. Number 4 seed in the West is the Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas just winning the SEC tournament today over Vanderbilt. They will get Hawaii, champions of the Big West. Knocked off UC Irvine in that Big West championship game yesterday. Number 6 seed in the West region are the Cougars of BYU. Get to see Debonsa, the big freshman for BYU, in the NCAA tournament. They're getting the winner of the first 4 game, and this first 4 matchup shocks me. I didn't have either one of these teams in the field, but the NCAA committee put them in. Well, yeah, okay, I'll go ahead. It's a TBD. It's Texas and NC State is the first 4 matchup. And I, like I say, I didn't have either one of them in. But they do get the first 4, Texas and NC State. 3 seed is Gonzaga, champions of the West Coast Conference once again. They will get Kennesaw State, Conference USA champions, in their first matchup. 10-7 matchup. I said UCLA and UCF in the East region didn't seem real appealing to me. This one's a different story. The 7 seed Miami Hurricanes. They've been pretty consistent all year long, finishing the 3rd in the ACC. However, the 7-10 matchup, they get the Missouri Tigers, and the game will be contested in St. Louis. So a 2-hour drive from Columbia. So that's going to be a very pro-Missouri crowd in that game for Miami and Missouri. And the 2 seed is the Purdue Boilermakers, who just won the Big Ten championship. They will get NCAA tournament first-timer Queens champions. And the A-Sun there getting their first NCAA tournament appearance for Queens. So again, you've got Arizona, the 1 seed, Purdue, the 2 seed, Gonzaga, the 3 seed, and Arkansas, the 4 seed. I didn't see Duke having much of a problem with the 1 seed in the East. Arizona in the West is a different story. Purdue and even Gonzaga, if it ends up being one of those teams that plays Arizona in the regional final, that could be a problem for Arizona. So I don't think Arizona has quite as favorable of a bracket as Duke does in the East. So we are halfway through the bracket here. There's that first 4 matchup, Texas and NC State, who I said I didn't have either one of them in the tournament, but Texas and NC State. I didn't have NC State even anywhere close to be, but the committee saw something and puts NC State in that first 4 matchup with the Texas Longhorns. Texas was in the first 4 last year, if I'm not mistaken, and lost to Xavier. So this is Texas' second consecutive year with a first 4 matchup. Hopefully for the Longhorns, they will end up a little bit better outcome than it did a year ago for them. So we've got half the field in. Still waiting for those bubble teams. Auburn, what's going to be the deal with Miami of Ohio, I think, is the big question. Miami of Ohio losing in that opening round, in the quarterfinal round in the MAC tournament to end their undefeated run. What is the tournament committee going to do with Miami of Ohio? So Duke and Arizona, Duke in the East, Arizona in the West, are the 2 number 1 seeds revealed so far. If we go to the Midwest now, this is probably going to, I would think, Michigan would be the number 1 seed in the Midwest. That 4th number 1 seed's kind of up in the air in the South. There's a lot of consensus thinking Florida. By the way, the matchups, the East, in the Final 4, the East region winner will play the South region winner. The West region winner will play the Midwest region winner. And I'll go ahead and tell you, they just revealed St. Louis. Well, I just gave away a team there. Michigan is the number 1 seed in the Midwest. That, to no one's big surprise, they are revealing the Midwest region now. So as soon as the region is unveiled, although I just said the wrong team and just basically told you who one of the teams is. Ooh, I don't like that matchup for Texas Tech, but they are revealing the Midwest region now. Again, with the copyright restrictions and everything, I was not taking any chances to air the CBS Selection Show. That's why I'm doing it this way. It's going to be a little bit after they say the pairings when they get this filled in, but I just wasn't willing to take any chances with the copyright and all that stuff. So that's why we're waiting to reveal it until they fill this out here. They've just gotten halfway through the Midwest region here. So we will get to the Midwest region here. I still don't come back to the West region. That 8-9 matchup, Villanova and Utah State. I think that is one of the best 8-9 matchups in recent memory for the NCAA tournament, that Villanova-Utah State game. That is going to be a fun one. And again, that Wisconsin High Point, I almost guarantee you that is going to be a heavy 12-5 pick on a lot of brackets across the country. High Point, a 30-game winner this year. High Point was in the NCAA tournament a year ago and gave Purdue all they could handle for about 35 minutes. So Wisconsin's looking at that matchup going, oh, why? That will be a Thursday game for Wisconsin against High Point. Arkansas, Hawaii, I don't know that Arkansas is going to have much of a problem there. But again, you never know. Hawaii looked pretty good taking out UC Irvine in the Big West Championship game last night. And then, of course, BYU will get the winner of that Texas-NC State first four matchup. That's one thing I would love to see changed in the first four format. If you win your conference tournament, I don't care what tournament it is, you shouldn't have to play in the first four. If you win your conference tournament, you should automatically be in the main part of the bracket. You shouldn't have to win your conference tournament and then play again a first four game just to get into the main bracket. I have never quite liked that format. First four, I think, should be the last 8 at-large teams selected. But, you know, that's how it is, and that's how it's always been. So I don't see anything changing with that. All right, and they are doing the last team in the Midwest region here, so we should be able to start revealing here after they have completed. Going to go ahead and pan down to the Midwest bracket as it is seated on the same side as the West. Here we go, filling it in right now. Michigan, top seed in the Midwest. No one's big surprise there. The first 3 number 1 seeds, no big surprise. Duke in the East, Arizona in the West, now Michigan in the Midwest. Michigan's first round opponent is that opening first 4 game between UMBC and Howard. UMBC and Howard, the battle to see who will play Michigan. 8 seed Georgia Bulldogs out of the SEC. They will get the number 9 seed Billikens of St. Louis. St. Louis does get in. They kind of fell off there at the end of the season, but still worthy enough for the at-large bid out of the A10. That's a pretty good 8-9 matchup too. St. Louis and Georgia. 5 seed in the Midwest. Maybe if I can get it to go down. Red Raiders of Texas Tech out of the Big 12. They've had a pretty solid year. They've been in a very, very tough Big 12 conference. Getting a 5 seed. They get Akron. I do not like this matchup if I'm Texas Tech, just like Wisconsin. Akron, winners of the MAC tournament. And that's going to be another probably pretty popular 12-5 pick there, Akron and Texas Tech. 4 seed in the Midwest, the Crimson Tide of Alabama. For Nate Oates' group, getting the 4 seed in the Midwest. They will take on 13 seed Pride of Hofstra, champions of the CAA, making their first NCAA appearance in, I think, 25 years, where they did qualify in 2020 as the CAA tournament had gotten finished before COVID wiped out the NCAA tournament that year. So they would have been in 2020 before COVID erased that tournament. 6 seed, Tennessee Volunteers. They get the 6 seed out of the SEC. They get the winner of the first 4 game, and I cannot even believe they got put in the first 4. But the Red Hawks of Miami of Ohio getting a first 4 game. It will be in Dayton, so it is a pretty home crowd advantage there. Dayton only about 45 minutes away from the campus there in Oxford. The other 11 seed, SMU. So Miami of Ohio and SMU in a first 4 matchup. Cannot believe Miami of Ohio has to play in the first 4. but that's where they were placed. But they do get in. They do get in with that winner to play Tennessee. Virginia's the 3 seed, ACC runners-up to Duke, falling in the ACC tournament title game to Duke last night. They will take on 14 seed Raiders of Wright State. Horizon League champions there for the Wright State Raiders. They could give Virginia some problems. I've seen Wright State play a couple times this year. They could pose some problems for Virginia in that game. I still think Virginia wins, but 7 seed Kentucky Wildcats. They've been very inconsistent this year. Kentucky able to get the 7 seed. They'll take on the 10 seed. Hey, Broncos of Santa Clara. And I'm looking at this matchup. I'm not sure Santa Clara doesn't beat Kentucky in that first round game. I've seen Santa Clara play a few times this year. That is an excellent basketball team. Santa Clara and Kentucky. That game will be in St. Louis, as will number 2 Iowa State. Cyclones get a number 2 seed out of the Big 12. Iowa State's had a solid season this year. They will take on the 15 seed Tigers of Tennessee State, OVC champions. Tennessee State champions out of the Ohio Valley Conference, taking on the Iowa State Cyclones. So again, we've got 2 first 4 matchups in this region, or first 4 games to decide who advances into the Midwest region. UMBC and Howard, 16 seeds, with that winner to play Michigan. We all remember what UMBC did the last time they were in the NCAA tournament 10 years ago. Don't ask Virginia or their fans to remember that game. And Howard winning the MEAC once again to qualify for the NCAA tournament. And then the other 11 seed, the other first 4 game to be the 11 seed in the Midwest, Miami of Ohio and SMU. With Santa Clara in and Miami of Ohio getting in the first 4, that tells me Auburn may not get in here, nor should they. Again, that 12-5 matchup in the Midwest, Texas Tech and Akron. That's a tough game for Texas Tech. I see, of the 3 regions so far, I see 2 of the 12 seeds that are a very, very good chance of knocking off the 5. Akron, Texas Tech, and then that 12-5 matchup, High Point and Wisconsin. The other 12-5 matchup, Northern Iowa and St. John's. I don't know that Northern Iowa's going to be able to handle the physicalness of St. John's. St. John's a very physical team, and I just don't see Northern Iowa being able to keep up with that game, but in that 12-5 matchup in the East. So I was talking about the other one. Arizona or Duke, I do not see having a big problem coming out of the East. I don't see UConn, Michigan State, or Kansas really giving Duke many problems there in the East. The West is a different story. Arizona, Purdue, Gonzaga, Arkansas, that's going to be a tough road for the number 1 seed Arizona to come out of the West. Midwest, you've got Michigan the 1, Iowa State the 2, Virginia the 3, Alabama the 4. I've been saying for a while, even though they lost today, I still think Michigan is the best team in the country. So I do see Michigan being able to come out of that region. I think they have of the 3 regions so far, I think they're in the middle as far as toughest to easiest. But I do think Michigan will come out of the Midwest. I do think Duke will come out of the East. And I tell you what, I like either. It's a toss-up between Purdue or Gonzaga for me out of the West. I don't think Arizona gets out of that West region. I really don't. With Purdue and Gonzaga on that side. We had all chalk last year, all number 1 seeds making the Final 4. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I don't think Arizona is going to be able to come out of the West region. Heck, if Arizona ends up playing Utah State in the second round, that's not going to be an easy second round matchup for the Wildcats. So I don't think the committee did Arizona any favors here in that West region bracket. They are going through the South region now, the final region to be announced here in the South region after they're done. Should get it filled in here. I will go ahead and tell you the final number one seed, and the number one seed in the South region is the defending national champion Florida Gators. They do get that final number one seed in the South region. Give you their matchup here in just a second. The teams have just been announced, so should be able to get it filled in here momentarily. And we'll run down this fourth and final region out of the South. There you go. The Florida Gators, top seed in the South region. They will get the winner of the first four game between Prairie View and Lehigh. Prairie View, the SWAC champions, Lehigh champions out of the Patriot League. Prairie View and Lehigh to do battle to take on the number one seed Florida Gators in the South region. 8-9 matchup in the South. The number 8 seed Clemson Tigers out of the ACC. Brian, I thought they might be able to pull about a 6 or 7 seed out, but they get an 8 seed in the South. Their first round matchup will be against the number 9 seed Hawkeyes of Iowa out of the Big Ten. That's a pretty good matchup, Iowa and Clemson, the 8-9 matchup. And if you've watched the NCAA tournament on a regular basis like I do, 9 more times than not beats the 8. So that's being interesting. I think Iowa has a very good chance of knocking off Clemson in that game too. 5 seed in this region, the 12-5 over here. Commodores of Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt losing in the SEC championship game today to Arkansas. They are able to get the 5 seed in the South. They will take on the 12 seed McNeese, Southland Conference champions. So that's the 12-5 matchup in the South. Number 4 seed, Cornhuskers of Nebraska, who are still looking for their first NCAA tournament win. Nebraska has never won an NCAA tournament game. They'll take on the 13 seed Trojans of Troy, champions of the Sun Belt, trying to get that first NCAA tournament win. 6 seed in this region, Tar Heels of North Carolina, one of the most inconsistent teams in the country. This is a team that could make a deep run as a 6 seed, or they could go out in this first game against 11 seed VCU. Ooh. And North Carolina is not going to be able to have a night off right there because VCU, that's a tough matchup for North Carolina right there, the Rams of VCU. 3 seed in this region, Fighting Illini of Illinois, still able to pull off a 3 seed. I thought they may drop going out early in the Big Ten tournament. I thought they may drop to about a 4, but they do get a 3 seed. They'll take on 14 seed Penn Quakers, who won the Ivy League earlier today, upsetting Yale in overtime. So Fran McCaffrey, who was the Iowa coach for years, now coaching Penn. He's going to go back up against a Big Ten school in Illinois. 7-10 matchup in the South region. Gales of St. Mary's getting a 7 seed. So the West Coast Conference getting 3 teams in to the tournament this year. St. Mary's will take on 10 seed Aggies of Texas A&M. That's 10 teams now from the SEC into the NCAA tournament. Number 2 seed Houston Cougars Houston falling short in the Big 12 title game, getting a 2 seed. They will take on the 15 seed Vandals of Idaho, champions of the Big South as the 7th seed in the Big South region. They get the 15 seed and will take on the Houston Cougars. That may be tough for Idaho. I don't think Idaho's going to be able to handle that physicalness at all of the Houston Cougars. So the 1 seed in this region is Florida. The 2 seed is Houston. Be a rematch of last year's NCAA title game in the regional final if Chalk ends up holding through. 3 seed Illinois, 4 seed Nebraska. So if Florida wants to go back-to-back, they're going to have to get through that region, which I think Houston would be the toughest matchup for Florida. Illinois and Nebraska, the 3 and 4 seeds. I don't see either one of them being able to take Florida. But if we do end up Florida-Houston in the regional final, you know Houston's still going to remember that NCAA tournament title game from a year ago. And they're going to have a little bit of revenge on their minds in that game. So that is the 68-team field for this year's NCAA tournament. They just mentioned the first 4 out on the broad. I gotta be honest. I don't know if I can remember who they were offhand. I think it was Auburn was 1, San Diego State was 1, Indiana was 1. I don't remember who the 4th one was. Might have been Oklahoma. I can't remember. But anyway, the fact to me that Auburn was even that close in first 4 out is Papa. That team you were 1 game over 500, 16 losses. You have no business even being in the discussion of the NCAA tournament as far as I'm concerned. So the fact that Auburn was even that close is appalling to me. Miami of Ohio does get in, although in the first 4, which is preposterous to me. They will take on SMU in that first 4 game. And again, it's basically going to be a home game for Miami of Ohio, as that first 4 game will be in Dayton, which is only 45 minutes to an hour away from Miami's campus there in Oxford. So that's basically going to be a home game for the Red Hawks in that first 4 game against SMU. So we get underway with the first 4 on Tuesday. Don't have game times or anything yet. This is just the bracket that came out right now. First, the game times will be announced here later on throughout the evening. That is the 68 team field for this year's NCAA tournament. Hey, Manfisto, how you doing, man? Yeah, I had said something the other day. I don't know if you were with me, Manfisto, when I said it, that I was going to have the live draw, but I didn't want to risk a copyright violation, so that's why I ended up doing it this way. I am not going to cover the USA baseball game tonight. I'm actually going to be on for the Women's Selection Show coming up later, and then we'll be on when the NIT pairings are announced, so it's going to be all college basketball tonight. But if the USA does advance to the final of the World Baseball Classic, we'll see what happens, and I might jump on for that. But it's going to be all college basketball tonight on here. But here, so we've got the 68. Yeah, sorry, man. So anybody out there in the live chat watching along, what do you think of the bracket? Who are your final 4 picks? Who do you like to come out and cut down the nets there in Indianapolis at the beginning of April in the Final 4? Got a lot of Very interesting first round matchups. And I think there was a lot of chalk last year. I think that could be a different story this year. I see a lot of lower seed potentials coming out of those first round games this year. So I don't think it's going to be all chalk, basically all chalk like we had 1 year ago. I see a lot of upset potential in this first round this year. Will we have another 16 over a 1? I'm looking at the matchups. I don't think so. Oh, you took Penn today over Yale, huh? That was, that thing going to overtime with Penn pulling it out. I was just making the comment on here. Fran McCaffrey, of course, coached at Iowa for years, going up against the Big Ten schools every year. Now he's at Penn, wins the Ivy League tournament, gets into the NCAA tournament, and what does the committee do for Penn on the first game? And Fran McCaffrey right up against another Big Ten school in Illinois. So he's going over Penn saying, I thought I got away from this Big Ten play, and lo and behold, he gets a matchup with Illinois in his first round game. But I very well see two potential 12-5 upsets, that High Point Wisconsin game, and then pan down here to that Akron Texas Tech game. It was Oklahoma, the other team. Oklahoma, Auburn, San Diego State, and Indiana, the first four out. The fact that Indiana was that close too is kind of head-scratching to me. But if you saw Indiana play the last month of the season, that is not an NCAA tournament team. But anyway, like I said, I see an Akron, Texas Tech, and a High Point, Wisconsin, two very conceivable 12-5 upsets in that first round. Then the other 12-5 matchups, Northern Iowa, St. John's, and McNeese, Vanderbilt. McNeese, Vanderbilt is a possibility, but Northern Iowa, St. John's, I just don't see Northern Iowa being able to keep up with the strength and the big guys of St. John's. Yeah, Benfica Duke, I think, has the biggest spread in the first round. Yeah, 28.5 point favorite over Siena. Yeah, you got Duke, 20, almost a 30-point favorite over Siena. Arizona is 29.5 point favorite over LIU. The other one seeds are the first four winners, but I find this very, very interesting in the first four. We're talking about lines of the game. Let's talk about this Miami of Ohio SMU game, where this is basically going to be a home game for Miami. They have SMU as a 7.5 point favorite over Miami. That is shocking to me. Got NC State as a 1.5 favorite over Texas. Yeah, that's a pick'em game in the first four, the way I see it. Then you got the two seeds as heavy favorite. Iowa State 23.5 over Tennessee State. Houston 21.5 over Idaho. You pan up here. UConn 18. UConn only 18.5 over Furman. Purdue 23.5 over Queens. So the spreads for the 1-16 games and the 2-15 games are a little high. So I don't know that we are going to have you never know, a 16-1 or a 15-2 upset, but again, never know. The highest possible upset I could see happening in round one. I tell you, like I said, Kansas has been one of the most inconsistent teams all season long. And if they have another one of those bad games like they had, that Cal Baptist, I'm not saying Kansas is going to lose that game, but as inconsistent as that team has been, I think a 4 seed is way too high for them. But I could see those 2 12-5 upsets in the first round. The High Point and the Akron as 12 seeds that very well could pull off first round wins. So there it is, the 68 team bracket. It all gets underway on Tuesday with the two first four games on Tuesday, two first four games on Wednesday before the main draw of the tournament gets underway on Thursday afternoon, or Thursday early afternoon, late morning, wherever you are. Or the mid morning if you're out west there. So again, my final 4 picks: Duke out of the East. If Purdue can continue to play now the way they have through that Big Ten tournament, I can see Purdue coming out of the West. Midwest, I've got Michigan. Again, Michigan, even though they lost the Big Ten tournament game today, title game today, Michigan still looks like the best team to me. I've got Michigan coming out of the Midwest. And I think I'm going to have Houston coming out of the South. So I've got 2 1 seeds and 2 2 seeds. Got Duke, Houston, Purdue, and Michigan. Boy, if Purdue, Michigan meeting for a third time, that would be in the Final Four. I've got Michigan tearing down the nets in Indianapolis. Michigan beating Houston in the national championship game. On my picks there. Going to be on with you for about another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to sign off for about an hour and then be back on 8 o'clock Eastern time for the women's selection. I believe that's at 8 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 8 o'clock for the women's selection special. So I will be back on at 8 o'clock for the announcement of the women's draw. That one I think I'll have a little bit more success with being able to put on while they're being announced. So we will crown a champion in Indianapolis. That will be coming up on, oh goodness, what's the date for that? 22nd, 29th, April 6th in Indianapolis. We will crown a national champion. Take all the biggest spreads: Sienna, Furman, Queens, Tennessee, and Tennessee State and Long Island. Yeah, I tell you what, if you take all those spreads for them, if you pick all them to cover on those spreads, you're looking at a pretty good payout. Bruce Pearl on the selection show on CBS. He's probably none too pleased that Auburn is not a part of this field. Of course, his son took over for him at Auburn just before the season started. He's the one that created all that controversy with that comment earlier in the year, saying Auburn, that Auburn, basically saying Auburn should be in and Miami of Ohio should not be, but that was not the case. So again, I'm going to be on here for about another 7 minutes or so and then sign off for about an hour until the announcement of the women's pairings comes out at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Central, 5 Pacific. And again, if you're in right now, go ahead and drop in the live chat. Who do you like in the Final Four? Who do you like cutting down the nets in Indianapolis here in about, what's that going to be, 3 weeks? Now, with those first 4 out, Memphis, so what's your question? What teams would you take the spread on for the 20-plus point spreads? None. I don't, I have to see what comes out of those first 4 games. If UMBC comes out of that first 4 game against Howard, maybe UMBC, and then Long Island, Arizona, Siena, Duke. No. I guess if UMBC would be playing Michigan if they came out of that game. Yeah, Memphis, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't like any of them at the 20-plus point spreads. I think I don't see any one of the number 1 seeds winning their games by less than 25 to 30 points. I really don't. If I had to take, if you had to just take one, if I had to take even one, if I don't even see UMBC covering Lehigh against Florida, I guess, because I'm thinking that's probably going to be a 20-plus point game if Lehigh ends up coming out of that first 4 game against Prairie View and Lehigh advances to play Florida. I guess it would be that one, but outside of that, I don't like any of them. Wow, Clark picked Virginia to come out of the Midwest. Clark Kellogg has Florida and Purdue, and Clark Kellogg has Purdue cutting down the nets in Indianapolis. Seth has almost what I picked. He's got Duke, Houston, Michigan, but he's got Arizona coming out of the West. Duke and Arizona in the championship game, according to Seth Davis. Arizona cutting down the nets. All right. Bruce Pearl has St. John's coming out of the East. Bruce has Florida and Arizona in the title game. Who's he got? Arizona. Okay, so that's 2 that have gone with Arizona. Adam Zucker doesn't pick, so it's... All right, so there it is, the 68-team field that will get underway on Tuesday in the first 4 in Dayton. All right, so that's going to wrap. I'm going to take a brief pause here. I'll be back with you in an hour for the women's pairing show. The 68-team women's NCAA tournament field will be announced here coming up at the top of next hour. And then again, we'll be with you later on when the NIT field is announced. Be with you for that one. Yeah, Menfisto, enjoy it. Root on the USA and the baseball classic here tonight. And like I say, if USA comes out, we'll see. I may jump on and do that championship game of the World Baseball Classic. All right, going to sign off here for just about an hour. We'll be back with you at 8 o'clock Eastern for the women's selection special of the 68-team field for the NCAA women's tournament. Brief pause here. Back with you here in just about an hour.